Greetings, viewers! Welcome back to Commentary Courtroom. I'm Night Eye, and today's case is the British Broadcasting Company's narrative is that the dating sim game Doki Doki Literature Club caused a child to commit suicide. I had this brought to my attention the other night when my girlfriend Seasonal Wiccan showed me a video from Akidirist. While I was scripting this video, Manga Comment had already released his commentary on the subject. Both videos are pretty good. I'll be linking them in the description in case you want to go watch them for yourself. Now, because I am what could be considered a drama commentator, I just couldn't leave this story alone. Let's hear what they have to say, shall we?
Good morning. We're going to start this morning by talking about a free online game after police and a coroner have warned about the risks of it to children. It's called Doki Doki Literature Club, and it starts like a dating game set in a high school and features a group of animated girls in a book club. Things do turn sinister, with characters self-harming and killing themselves.
Not gonna deny that happens, but it happens arguably later in the game. It's also implied that Yuri's suicide could be due to the fact that the character Monica is a self-aware AI who wanted her own happy ending with the player character, so tampered with the game's programming to make the other characters who functioned as a love interest seem less appealing. Hence why Yuri goes from a shy, quiet girl to a crazy psycho. Now, I will give you credit. Unlike NBC, you aren't being entirely dishonest. I mean, you aren't playing the clips where Sayuri is found to have hung herself, or the scene where Yuri stabs herself to death. So, good on you! You get a gold star.
It's said to be suitable for players aged 13 or over. It was launched last year and was downloaded 2 million times in the first 4 months. An inquest will be held into the death of a 15-year-old called Ben Wormsley from Bury, whose father said the game dragged his son in. And a pre-inquest review is due to take place at 10 o'clock this morning in that case. Greater Manchester Police have said, "We believe this game is a risk to children and young people, especially those that are emotionally vulnerable and anyone with existing mental health concerns."
The game dragged him in? You mean like in Poltergeist?
I haven't seen anything suck this much since I Heart Huckabees!
Now, don't take this to mean that I'm making light that a kid killed himself, but your wording is really awkward. Do you mean they got immersed into the game's story? Well, yeah, that's what a good game is supposed to do. But at the same time, the game says it's for people 13 and up, and has a disclaimer that advises anyone with depression against playing the game in case something like this happens. Unfortunately, you don't really give us the details to Ben's death. All we really know is that Ben played the game and then was found dead. For all we know, Ben was one of the people the game was issuing its warning towards.
The coroner has warned this is a psychological horror game with suicide as a main feature.
Okay, no. Suicide is not a main feature. It happens in the game, yes, but it isn't one of the game's selling points. It's revealed that Sayuri has depression towards, I don't know, maybe the middle of the game? And despite what the player character says to her, she is discovered to have hung herself the next morning. Not going to deny that that scene is a complete mood whiplash. Does it work? Arguably. That's sort of what the game is going for, after all. You think it's going to be all cutesy and fun and charming, and then you discover one of the characters to be dead.
And notes too, it does warn it's not suitable for children. However, the graphics, etc., are clearly aimed at young people. We've contacted the game's creators, Team Salvato, but so far we haven't heard back. Here's the trailer for the game with that warning right at the start.
So, you acknowledge the game has a disclaimer. Even show it in your footage, but still want to go with the narrative that's aimed towards children due to the art style. Hey kids, who wants to see body horror, excessive violence, blackface and brutal homophobia, graphic depictions of torture and death, nudity, hedonism, and a whole ton of crude humor that you won't understand? Hey, it's okay if you watch this stuff. It's animated, therefore it's targeted towards children. Just because something looks like it's aimed towards children doesn't mean they're its target audience. And that's just animation. What about the show Mongrels? Its characters are puppets clearly based on the Jim Henson design of characters, but it's clearly meant for an adult audience.
Let's talk about this now with the news editor for the video game website Kotaku UK, Laura Dale. Also mum of two and casual gamer, Helen Ground. She has played Doki Doki and is a fan. And Lorna Fraser is here from the suicide prevention charity Samaritans. Welcome all of you. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. Laura, describe the premise.
So the basic premise of the game is that it starts off like a dating sim, as you'd said, that you go to this literature club, try and make friends with all these different girls, and it sort of subverts the expectations of that genre by becoming a horror narrative. A little bit of spoilers for the game. One of the characters, as it turns out, is not happy that you're dating the other video game characters, and she manipulates events so that other characters will commit suicide and will sort of drive you towards dating her instead.
And what's your reaction to this warning from the coroner and Greater Manchester Police about the risks to children and those who are vulnerable?
I think that, honestly, it's the same as the risks of any piece of media that deals with these kind of themes, be it video games or movies or books. If you have someone who is already in an emotionally vulnerable state and you have them engaging with media that tackles these difficult themes and they don't have an outlet to talk about that properly, that can be a problem. I think that a lot of it does just come down to communication and making sure that if you've got a child who is already struggling with those themes, that you're aware of what kind of media they're engaging with.
Yes, that's what this whole situation and others like it mean. However, since this isn't the only case where a child was a fan of DDLC, committed self-harm or suicide, rather than ask why these kids didn't confide in a parent or any other adult responsible for their well-being, it seems that blaming the game is the go-to course of action in response to the loss of young lives, effectively making the game a scapegoat. This really isn't anything new. The media has often been blamed for stuff like this. I remember when I was a kid, everyone wanted to be Superman, and who knows how many little boys ended up in the hospital from jumping off roofs trying to fly. Though really, that's on the fault of the parents for not watching what their kids are doing, not what they're watching, reading, or playing. And that's really all I wanted to cover. I'll leave a link to the full video in the description in case you want to watch it in its entirety. While not as bad as NBC last year, the BBC still pushes the narrative that video games cause violence and harm to children. There are also articles with the narrative that DDLC is intentionally deceiving children into playing it. Again, if you're a parent, a legal guardian, or any other adult charged with the well-being of a child, it's your responsibility to look after them, to make sure that they are safe and happy, and to comfort them when times get hard. This is Night saying thanks for listening, and please share your thoughts with me.